not, is I'm literally just sitting down to film lawnmower here. Okay, I think he went around to the other side of the building, so we're gonna try to at least get as much of this started as we possibly can. So I actually meant to do this video quarterly throughout this year, and then completely forgot back in August, I think was when I was supposed to make the last one. So instead, we got a huge pile of books here. So earlier in the year, I did all of the 4- and 5-star books, talked about them, you know, listed them out. They went back around. I at least want to get this freaking intro done. So anyways, I did a video back in April with all of my 4- and 5-star books that I had read so far this year. Well, now here are all of the 4- and 5-star books that I've read from May to this point in November when I'm filming it. So it's gonna be a lot of books to get through. I'm only including 4 stars that were like solid 4 stars. If there was anything that was 3.5 that I rounded up to 4, nope, missed the cut. Only full 4 stars and 5-star reads. So it's gonna be a lot of good books. We got a lot to get through. Let's jump in. So first up on this list, I have Sin and Discipline by Lily White. So this is a student-teacher romance following Lennon and Amelia. Lennon is a very talented musician and he comes back to judge a competition back in his hometown. And Amelia is a high school senior. It's like the summer after her senior year and she's trying to get a scholarship to go on a music scholarship to college. And she enters the competition and Lennon is the judge for that and like her teacher throughout it. Amelia ends up trying to actually rob Lennon and they have like a bit of a little scuffle and then eventually find out that they're student teacher and their relationship goes from there. This is so good. It gave me very much Dark Notes vibes by Pam Godwin. So if you've read that book and loved it, definitely give this one a shot. The characters were great. The plot was interesting. They have like an entangled story, the two of them. I just loved it. This was my first book by Lily White and I definitely need to explore more of their backlist. Next, you know what? I'm going to lump these all together because like I said, this is gonna be a long video. So I'm gonna try to keep these explanations or things as short and sweet as possible because I could get carried away very, very quickly. So I have all of these books in the Addicted/Calloway Sisters series that I gave 4 or 5 stars to. We have Hot House Flower, which is my second favorite out of the whole series, high 5 stars. Thrive, I gave this one 5 stars as well. Addicted After All, one of my favorite Lily and Low books, 5 stars again. Fuel the Fire, Rose and Connor's other book, don't love it as much as Kiss the Sky, but still 5 stars. Long Way Down, Daisy and Reich's second book, still 5 stars, but didn't love it as much as Hot House Flower and definitely towards the bottom of my list in terms of the series overall. And finally, the longest epilogue novel to ever exist, Some Kind of Perfect. I think I gave this 5 stars because at the time I was like so wrapped up and consumed in this series. This book is definitely like, this is so excessive, especially for someone like me who doesn't even like epilogues. Like this is excessive and even I could admit that. So I think I gave this 5 stars at the time, but again, definitely bottom of my list in terms of my order. But I have an entire reading vlog reading that series. So if you want any in-depth thoughts, you can just go check that out. Trust me. I got like an hour's worth of footage in there of my opinions. So you can go watch that. Next up, I have Darlene Venom by Parker S. Huntington. So this one is like a best friend's brother type romance. So our heroine in this one back in high school, she and one of our heroes that you meet met up on a roof one night when they were both there to end their lives. And when they found each other, they talked it out, kind of talked to each other and were like, you know what, let's keep going for another year and we'll meet back up here the next year. And they kind of do that all throughout high school. And then I think is it about like 3 years later, maybe like towards the end of high school, the hero does end up jumping off of the roof and our heroine is really reeling after that. Anyways, years later, she ends up running into the older brother and it's like hate to love because she's obviously heard things from her friend years ago about how his brother treated her. Why is it getting so dark all of a sudden too? And anyways, it goes from there. Yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. It does not need to be this long, but I did really enjoy the story a lot. But definitely just like a heavy book, very heavy, but really good. Really liked it. I'm sorry. I know especially like video quality, my video quality goes to like complete shit when it gets darker, when I just have to rely on the ring light of my phone because my phone doesn't do well with like ring light. It does great with natural light, but it does not do well with the ring light. And literally why all of a sudden is it like getting super fucking dark. So this video is just cursed from the very beginning and love that. Cherry Bomb by Carmel Rhodes. I gave this one 4 stars. Loved it. Super fun. It's a best friend's dad romance, age gap romance. Cherry works as a bartender, or no, as a server at this one bar/restaurant. She ends up waiting on Cash, who they like hit it off. They go to a hotel, have an amazing night together, have a great morning together. She goes back home to her roommate, and her roommate's like, oh my God, my dad that I've like never seen is coming into town. And Cherry's like, oh, why don't you have it at my restaurant so that way you like have me there, have some like neutral ground for you, you know, whatever. And her friend's dad shows up to meet with her friend, and turns out that's Cash. This one's a quicker read too. It's just a lot of fun. I just love anything like dad's best friend's dad. Like those are just immaculate vibes. Okay, so love that, love this. Next, Wani Mr Kane by Shanora Williams, and also I'm gonna include Breaking Mr Kane as well. So I gave Wani Mr Kane 5 stars. This is book 1. Absolutely amazing, immaculate. Breaking Mr Kane I gave 4 stars. Did really like it. Loving Mr Kane I gave 3.5 rounded up, so not including it, but Wanting Mr. Kane specifically is a dad's best friend age gap romance between Candy and Quentin, and Candy has always had a crush on her dad's best friend Quentin growing up, and finally when she turns 18 and she's getting ready to go off to college, she is ready to do something about her attraction to him and isn't going to let him say no to her. She really like heavily pursues him, and obviously Quentin tries to like hold her off, tries to like not give in, but obviously he ends up doing it anyways, and thank you for that, Quentin. Love to see it, and they end up getting into a relationship together. Breaking Mr. Kane, which is book 2, picks up immediately after Wanting Mr. Kane, like the events at the end of the first book into the second book. I can't really say anything about that one because it would spoil this one, but absolutely love this first one, like obsessed. Real Players Never Lose by Macaulay Smelter. I give this one 4 stars. This one follows Teddy and Vanessa, and it is the 3rd book in the Boys series by Macaulay Smelter. However, they all are standalone, so you can just jump straight into this one. You don't need to read the first 2 in order to read this one and understand it. This one follows Teddy, and he is a baseball player. He plays a sport. I'm 99.9% sure it's baseball. But anyways, he comes from a rich family, and he has gotten into a little bit of trouble. So his dad is really set on like setting him on like the straight and narrow path and not getting into any trouble this year in school. But in order to prove to his dad that he's like on a more level track, he ends up lying and says that he has a girlfriend when he does not. And his dad's like, bring her to dinner. So he quickly is in search of someone to be his fake girlfriend. And that's when he runs into Vanessa, who she is trying to get, I think some tuition money of hers is like missing or something, and she's needing money to stay in school. She does not come from a wealthy background. She doesn't have anyone helping her out with school. So Teddy's like, hey, I'll give you money for your tuition if you come and be my fake girlfriend. And they have a little arrangement with that. So it's definitely like friends to lovers, or like strangers to friends to lovers. Bit of a slow burn. Vanessa's plus size. It's just fun. Teddy definitely has like golden retriever type energy, which is not normally my favorite in heroes, but he was really cute. You know what? Let's lump these together as well. I'll talk about them each individually though, but the last 3 books in the Salacious Players Club series. So Eyes on Me, which is book 2, I gave this one 4 stars. This one follows Garrett and Mia, and it's an age gap step-sibling romance. Garrett obviously works at the Salacious Players Club, and Mia is his younger stepsister, and they are back home, or not like home, they're away at their family's cabin for a week or weekend or something, and they're finally getting a chance to reconnect. They haven't seen each other in a while, and Mia is now actually a cam girl. No one in her family knows this, but she is a cam girl, and one night when Garrett is, you know, just perusing the web, he stumbles upon Mia online, you know, doing her thing, making her money. He is immediately like, oh my God, this is my stepsister, but also this is my stepsister. And they start chatting online. Obviously, Garrett knows who Mia is, but Mia does not know that it is Garrett that she's talking to online, and they also start bonding in real life. This was great. Great groveling at the end. There is a 3rd act breakup, which I don't love, but this one actually, like, the 3rd act breakup didn't make me as mad as other 3rd act breakups have. Love this one. Then Give Me More, which is book 3. This one is Drake, what is the dude's name? Isabel, and what's the dude? Hunter. So Hunter and Isabel are married, and they are besties with Drake, and Drake is, I think, is he like a construction guy with the Salacious Players Club, and Hunter is one of the partners. And him and Isabel have been married for a long time. Him and Drake have been friends for even longer, so they've always just kind of been like together, but not like together. But then when they are out on the road scoping other clubs for Salacious Players, they decide to start, you know, giving in to some desires that the 3 of them have all had for each other. And it's great. So it's definitely like friends to lovers, MMF, MFM too, like Does that both count? I definitely felt more of the connection between Drake and Isabel than like Hunter and Isabel, but I mean, it's fine. Drake was my favorite out of this anyways, so I liked that he got, you know, my little extra attention in it. And lastly, the fourth book in the Salacious Players Club series, and the only one I've given 5 stars to, and that is Mercy. This one is Beau and Maggie's book, and Beau is Emerson's son. He has the first book there. Maggie is the last business partner in like the Salacious Players Club, so it is an age gap, but reverse. Maggie's older than Beau, and it's dom sub, but Maggie is the dom, Beau is the sub. So freaking good. Beau's like a brat too, which I just love. Like, I love their dynamic so much. So Maggie she's in a place in her life right now where she doesn't really know what she wants to do. She's more just doing things because she thinks she should be doing them because she's reached a certain level of success in her career and because she's at a certain age in her life. And when Beau comes around, he kind of like disrupts all of that from her. She just starts to kind of do whatever she actually wants to do, and that's be with Beau. And Beau is still really angry with his dad over his dad getting with his ex-girlfriend, and he's dealing with a lot of anger from that, and just again really struggling with his purpose. And when he and Maggie start getting together, they really like find that in each other. Absolutely loved this one. Like, everything about this book is pure perfection to me. Amazing. Next up, I have the entire Wolf Hotel series by K.A. Tucker. So the first book, Tempt Me, I gave 4 stars, and then Break Me, Teach Me, and Surrender to Me, I gave 5 stars. So overall, this series as a whole was just a knockout. I also read them back to back to back to back. I never do that with series, but as soon as I started, I couldn't stop. We're just gonna hold up this one for the sake of my arm strength. So this one follows Henry and Abby. And Abby, she's graduating college, right? Yes, she's graduating college. She's recently broken up with her boyfriend because he cheated on her, and she is trying to get a fresh start somewhere away from her small town and even like the city that she went to school in. And she finds an internship program in Alaska at the Wolf Hotel, so she ends up going out there. And when she arrives there, some things with her job got messed up a little bit, and she ends up becoming the assistant to Henry Wolf, who is the owner of the Wolf Hotel, and they get together. Yeah, it's billionaire, boss employee. Definitely Abby in this one is she's very sheltered, very innocent, and you definitely see her growth over the course of the 4 books. So in this one, she did annoy me, but by the end of it, I'm like, girl, I've been with you on a journey. I've seen you opening your eyes to the world around you, and I appreciate it. It's amazing. It's so fun. It's super addictive. Next up, Burn For Me by Sarah Kate. So I gave this one 4 stars. So this one is teacher-student, reverse age gap again. Definitely enemies to lovers. So our heroine in this one, 10 years prior to when this book started, she was a journalist, and she wrote an expose article on this really famous person, on this like business dude, and sent him away to prison, therefore kind of like disrupting that guy's whole family, and especially for his son, who then like their entire life just went to shit after his dad went to prison. And 10 years later now, she's a professor at a college, and guess who happens to walk into her class one day? Yep, the son of the dude that she sent to prison, and he sets out to just make it his mission to make her miserable. Just everything, like he's relentless against her and letting her know that she ruined his entire life. But as that's happening, they start to fall in love. It's fun. I loved it. 4 stars. Okay, back after the longest lawn mowing that I've ever had in my entire life. Haven by Astra Rose. This one's a novella. Our heroine in this one is running from her abusive husband or boyfriend, fiance? Abusive partner. And her car ends up breaking down on the side of the road, and she ends up stumbling upon this random bar in the middle of nowhere. It's the only place around. There have been no cars on the road to help her, and she finds these 2 dudes inside the bar and enlists their help to getting her car towed. They tow it to their garage. They like own a garage, whatever, and they're like, we can fix it up for you, and hey, do you need a place to stay? Why don't you come and stay with us? And kind of welcome her into the fold and help her out a little bit. And these 2 dudes happen to be brothers. They're not actual brothers, but one of their biological dads also lives with them. It's them 3 all living together. They have their own backstory, whatever. She ends up in a relationship with all 3 of them, and it's a vibe. It's a fun time. There does get to be like a little bit of like suspense stuff with the ex-partner coming back into the mix, and all 3 of the guys, you know, do what they can to protect her, and they are all involved. Are they involved? It's not like mafia, but it's like organized crime that they're kind of like involved in and trying to get out of. So they definitely aren't afraid to get their hands dirty when her ex-dude comes a-knockin'. It's a quick little novella, and I really enjoyed it. 4 stars. Next up, we have another novella, Handsome Devil by Sarah Kate. So this one follows our heroine, and her best friend is eloping in Las Vegas, and she calls her, and I think she lives in Boston, and she's like, hey, you need to get to Vegas ASAP because I'm going to be getting married and I want you here. And the heroine's like, oh my God, how am I supposed to get there? There's something with like flights and like maybe there are no flights that'll get them there in time or something. So she ends up road tripping, and she ends up road tripping with her best friend's dad, who is also trying to make it out to the wedding. The dad has not really had a relationship with his daughter. You get into that, but it's them on the road on the way to Vegas. So forced proximity, best friend's dad, age gap, novella romance. I really loved this one too. Again, for being a novella, I felt like there was great character development. I felt like the relationship felt natural over the course of the progression of the novella. Like, it didn't feel too rushed, but it also, like, they didn't have a lot of time, but like I could sense the attraction. I could sense the chemistry between the two of them, and it was delightful. I loved this novella. Sorry if I'm being too rushed, but literally trying to just get this done. Twisted Lies by Anna Huang. I gave this book 5 stars. Phenomenal. The last book in the Twisted series. However, they all are standalone, so you could skip straight to this one, although I don't advise it because the other 3 are incredible as well. This one follows Christian and Stella. Christian is a billionaire. He owns a security company, and he owns the hotel that Stella, or the apartment building that Stella lives in. And Stella is an influencer, and she really needs a boost in her numbers. She's trying to get this big contract with this company, and she needs a boost in her following. So what creates good numbers is a boyfriend. And Christian needs someone to bring on his arms to events to kind of like appear more normal to his business associates because he's known as being like such a snake. And they agree to fake date each other to help each other out. And as all fake dating does, it turns into real feelings, and it's incredible. It's a thick book. Stella has a stalker. That's a fun little storyline that you get in here. Christian is just touch her and I'll kill you energy. Not even just energy. He is touch her and I'll kill you. Quite literally. It's so fun. It's incredible. Loved it. Christian Harper, I'm here if you ever want it. Another novella, but it was 4 stars. It did what it needed to do, and that is Dirty First Dates, The Arcade by Harley LaRue. So this one is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a first date between these 2 people, and it's 40 pages of pure smut. But I ate it up. Forget how they had known each other, but it's like 2 people in like their early 20s or something. They go on a first date at the arcade, and while they're there, they get up to some shenanigans between the 2 of them. That's quite literally all the explanation that you need. Like I said, it's like literally 40 pages. And yeah, there's no plot, but I didn't care. 4 stars. Next up, Cruel Black Hearts by Candace Wondrak. This is a serial killer why choose book that follows Stella, and she is obsessed with serial killers. She even writes a column in her local newspaper and has a blog about serial killers. Just absolutely obsessed, and she ends up attracting the attention of 2 serial killers, Ed and Lincoln, and she ends up having a relationship with both of them, and then also with a 3rd serial killer who is currently killing in the area. He is known as the Angel Maker. That's what Stella dubs him as, and she believes that he is killing in order to get her attention, and oh, does he have it. I can't even say who that is. It would spoil things in the first book. You do get the answer in the second book, who the angel killer is, and it's fun. Here's the thing. This first one I did really enjoy. I didn't really love the rest of the series. I haven't read the last book, but the second and third books kind of fell off for me. I think it's because Stella really lacks like any sort of emotion whatsoever, which makes it interesting because obviously she's dealing with serial killers who also lack a certain sense of emotion, but it just made it hard for me to like stay connected with her at all times. However, just the premise is interesting enough in this first book that I still gave it 4 stars. Stop. Faking with Benefits by Lily Gold. This is a rom-com. Why choose? So our heroine in this one, she owns a lingerie company, and her 3 best friends, her 3 neighbors, not like best friends, but she's friends with them. Her 3 friends across the hall, who are all roommates living together, they have a podcast. Their audience is looking for them to like switch up their content a little bit. It's getting a little stale. Same with their like sponsorship. They're like, you need to kind of get it together, get something fresh, get something new. And our heroine in this really struggles with dating. She's been on tons of first dates and can't figure out like why she can't make it past that first date. So they decide to kind of teach her how to date and do it as an experiment to chronicle on their podcast. And once again, like all fake dating does, their feelings turn real as they get going. This is one of like the lightest why chooses that I've ever read before. I don't really read a lot. Normally they're like dark, bully, whatever. But this one was fun. Did it need to be like 550 pages? No, but I definitely had a good time while reading it. I felt the connection between the heroine and each of the 3 guys, and I felt the friendship between each of the 3 guys. And overall, like even it still had depth. Like the characters still had depth to them, even though it was still like more fun and lighthearted. So yeah, definitely would recommend. Next up, The Lady Gets Lucky by Joanna Shoup. A complete surprise for me because this is a historical romance. It follows Kit and Alice, and it's a friends to lovers kind of deal and like lessons in seduction kind of thing, because Alice she's in high society, you know, and she's not finding herself a husband, and she's just worried like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I find one? And she asks Kit, who is like a notorious kind of playboy, who's like not settling down, but like is a good time, you know, kind of dude to get with. And she asks Kit like, hey, can you kind of help me figure out like what I'm doing wrong, or like just how to like seduce a man, basically. He agrees to help her, and it goes from there. This blew me away. I loved both Kit and Alice. I loved this story. I loved their friendship. I loved their relationship. I loved the slow burn. I truly loved each and everything about this book. Not a single complaint about it. I read it because Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings, her and I did like a reading each other's favorite vlogs. I never would have picked it out otherwise, and I'm so glad that Rachel had me read it for that vlog, because it was just perfection. Even if you aren't a historical romance reader, this still felt, I think because of like the fake, not like fake dating, but I think because of like the kind of lessons, like it had a modern feel to it, to me at least. And Alice had aspirations past just finding a husband. Like she wants to be a chef and everything, that even though it is a historical setting, I still felt like it had like a modern edge to it for me as someone who doesn't read any historicals. So yeah, loved it. Next up, another historical romance. This one I gave 4 stars to, and that is The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare. So this one follows our heroine. She arrives in a gown to this one duke. He's a duke, right? Duke and Duchess. Yeah, a duke's house to demand payment for this dress that she had worked on. She's a seamstress, and she was never paid for this dress because it is the duke's ex-fiance's wedding dress. So obviously wedding's off, no need for the dress anymore, but she still needs her payment. And when she arrives there, the duke is like, you know what? I'm not really gonna pay for that dress right now, but you know what I will do is, why don't you marry me instead? Because he needs a wife, he needs an heir. That is what he is really, really set on. He's returned from war, he's now ended it with his fiance, and he is just really struggling. He's like, you know what I can do right now? I can try to get myself an heir. So he asks for her to be in like a little arranged marriage situation. You marry me, I'll take care of you financially, and you give me an heir, and that's what we'll do. Like bada bing, bada boom. He'd like just live our separate lives, but we'll be married as long as you give me an heir. As any marriage of convenience does in the romance world, of course, their feelings go from like business to personal, romantic very quickly, or not very quickly, but they do develop. And yeah, I did like this one a lot. Not as much as I loved The Lady Gets Lucky, but still good. Still 4 stars. Oh, this one I have an entire reading vlog on, dedicated reading vlog on, so you can check out my full thoughts there. But I have the Ravenhood series. I read this for a reading vlog, and I cried and cried and cried. Like half that video I spent crying. So this first book I had given 4 stars, and then these last 2 I had given 5 stars to, especially this middle one here, Exodus. This one ruined me, absolutely ruined me. And the finish line too ruined me as well. I genuinely don't even know how to explain what these are about. I don't know if anyone does. If you don't mind seeing spoilers, you can watch that vlog for my full thoughts, feelings, emotions, cry sessions. Yeah. Next is Home Game by Odette Stone. This is a hockey romance, friends to lovers, kind of caretaking type romance. So this is the second book in the Vancouver Wolf series, however it is a standalone. And Zoe and Ryan. And one day when Ryan is at a coffee shop working on his expenses and having like a lot of problems figuring out like the tax system, whatever, he's like hopeless. And Zoe sees this and is like, do you need help? Offers to help him. And she ends up doing all of his like finance paperwork for him. At the end of the day, he offers to drive her home because she's like, holy crap, I need to get home to get into this homeless shelter that she's been staying at, because the good one, you know, closes at a certain time. She really wants to get in there, takes her there and drops her off, and he gives her a business card and is like, hey, if you ever need help or anything, just give me a call. And she's like very suspicious, you know, whatever, like, you don't have to help me. She's very untrustworthy that he would just do anything out of the kindness of his heart, and not that he's like looking for anything in return from her. And things end up happening. I think a few nights later she ends up getting jumped and is taken to the hospital, and when she's at the hospital they find the business card, his business card, in there, and calls him. And when he arrives at the hospital, she's in really bad shape, and obviously she can't just like go back to the shelter. So he's like, hey, why don't you come back to my apartment, rehab there for a little bit, you know, recover, and I'll help you kind of get back on your feet. And again, she's suspicious, but she really has no choice to agree. So they become roommates, and it's forced proximity, and it's amazing. 5 stars, obsessed, could not put this book down. I totally felt for Zoe. Everything about this book was incredible. I loved her and Ryan's relationship. Just amazing. Fair Catch by Candy Steiner. So this one is a college football romance. So this one, and it's also brother's best friend. So Zeke and Riley, I think, are both college football players. Team members always end up rooming with each other, but because Riley is one of the only girls on the team, she did not get a roommate, and she doesn't want to like be assigned somewhere else. She's like, no, I want to be a part of this team. Like, I am a part of this team. Just assign me with someone. And she ends up getting assigned with Zeke, who is her brother's best friend. They went to high school together. They have a history. She absolutely hates Zeke for something that happened in the past, and they end up becoming roommates. And yeah, so it's forced proximity, brother's best friend, enemies to lovers, sports romance. I loved the football aspect of this. I love that they were both football players and that we got a lot of that. We got them practicing. Zeke really has his eyes set on just playing football for the rest of his life. He really struggles in school, and that's something that Riley ends up kind of helping him out with. And yeah, it goes from there. Again, sorry, I feel like I'm speeding through these explanations, but I still got a lot of books left and I just want to keep cranking. So Fair Catch gave 4 stars too. Passion Venom by S. Williams. This is a dark mafia captor-captive romance. So our heroine in this one and our hero, actually, both back when they were younger, their dads used to be business associates, and their dads were kind of like, hey, when you guys get older, you're going to get married. Just, you know, kind of how like mafia people do it. They're like, you guys are going to get married, but it wasn't anything set in stone. And years later, things end up happening to both of their families, both of their dads. They're completely like separated. They never see each other again, whatever, until it is Gianna's wedding day and she is marrying someone who is not our hero. And on the way home from her wedding, their like car is run off the road. Her husband is shot and killed, and Gianna is taken captive, and she's taken to a remote location. She's being held there, and like a week maybe after being in captivity, the boss ends up showing up, and guess who it is? The dude from her childhood, and he immediately recognizes her and is like, oh no, she's not gonna be treated like this, but she's also still my captive. So he takes her out of like where she was being held and takes her into his home. She's still very much captive, but she maybe has like she has better conditions, but also like not really, because she's still being a literal captive. And it goes from there. It's hate to love, but so good. Gianna definitely pushes back on him quite a bit. And it creates some interesting circumstances for herself. Definitely really dark. Definitely check triggers on this one, especially at the end. Really, really enjoyed it. Next up, Into the Clearwater by B. Celeste. So this one has a bunch of tropes. It's like love triangle, forced proximity, roommates, single parent, student teacher, brother's best friend, slow burn, all that kind of good stuff. So our heroine in this one, she has custody of her best friend's daughter after him and his wife have both died. So she is raising her, and she has a roommate who's a tattoo artist that they are like roommates with benefits, but that's kind of like it. They don't have like any sort of romantic relationship. They just hook up with each other to kind of burn off the steam that they both have in their everyday lives. And that's kind of going well for her. She's trying to just graduate school, get done, so that way she can really support her daughter now. However, she does need a student teaching job in order to graduate, and one of her professors ends up offering her to be a TA with him, and that happens to be her brother's best friend, who she always used to have a crush on, and now is her teacher, and she becomes his student aide. So it's definitely, this is a very character-driven book. I definitely really enjoyed the character development between our heroine and the 2 different guys, and also with her daughter, but it did get a little slow at times, so that's why I got 4 stars instead of 5. But it was a love triangle that I actually really liked, because both were very viable options. Like, there was not one where it's like you just honestly know that he's like not going to be the pick. It genuinely surprised me at the end who she picked, because both of them were good options. Empire Nightclub series by K.A. Tucker. I gave all of these books 4 stars. So the first one I think is Sweet Mercy. So this one, our heroine Mercy, her dad is in prison for killing the man who assaulted her, and she does not think that he deserves the sentence that he got, so she's really trying to get him out. And as her dad is in prison, he ended up killing someone who had a lot of friends in prison, so he is getting like beat up, harassed, just having a really tough time in jail. And she really is trying to get him out, but she can only go through law school so quickly, and they have no money to like get a lawyer for a better appeal, like, and that's why he lost, was because they didn't have a good lawyer. And when she's in prison visiting her dad, she catches the attention of Gabriel, who is also there visiting his dad, but Gabriel is a part of organized crime, and they have a cartel type business, and Gabriel obviously can pull some strings in jail, and he just wants Mercy. He doesn't really want anything else from her, except he's just attracted to her and is like, what can I do to get her to hook up with me? Well, I can promise her that if she comes and lives with me for a full week, I'll help her dad out in prison, like pull some strings, get him some safety, what have you. And she ends up agreeing to this. But with her time in Gabriel, she does end up falling for him, even though she despises everything about the business that he's in. I loved their relationship. It gets absolutely wild, the stuff that they get pulled into, but it's just, like I said, it's just a lot of fun. It's super bingeable, kind of similar to Wolf Hotel, where it's just like, they're shorter, they're maybe like all around like 250 pages, just super bingeable, fun, dramatic time. Another novella, Sweet Christmas by Macaulay Smelter. I gave this one 5 stars because I just will take any bit of Danny and Lachlan that I can get. I would not advise reading this if you haven't read Sweet Dandelion, which is a full-length standalone. This is just a novella following our couple after that, and it's their first Christmas together. It's just super freaking cute. Literally, like, nothing else to it. It's just a cute time. I don't really like novellas normally, but this one, it's just cute. I just love this couple so much. So I loved seeing them just like have their little Christmas traditions together. It was just adorable. 5 stars. It filled my heart with warm fuzzies. Next, we have another kind of like epilogue type novella, and that is Out of Bounds by Lucia Franco. So this is a companion novel to the Off Balance series, my favorite series of all time, as y'all know. So this one is, so it's deleted scenes from the 4 books, or 5 books, what am I saying? It's deleted scenes from those. There's an interview between Lucia, the author, and Kova. It's like her interviewing him. That was my favorite part. It made me cry. It was so beautiful. There's like an op-ed in here just about Lucia talking about the Off Balance series in general and just like the things that she went through with that. There's parts from their notebook that they shared with each other throughout the book. Truly, this is just for like diehard fans of the Off Balance series. It's kind of like with Sweet Christmas. Like, you just got to be like a fan of that couple, and you just have to be a fan of the series in general to love this. I gave this 5 stars. I'm so sad to say goodbye to Rhea and Kova forever, but I understand why she's ready to move on, and this was just like the perfect little conclusion, I felt like, to get like closure for myself with Rhea and Kova. Break for You by KB Rowe. This one, I think I had originally done 3.5 stars rounded up. However, it is a solid 4 star for me. I truly don't care how absolutely like ludicrous some of the things in this book are. I had a really fun time reading it. So this one is about a volleyball player and her coach. Huge age gap. Our heroine is in her senior year of high school. She's in high school and she is a volleyball player. And coming off of the summer, she has an ankle bracelet. She was arrested for some things that you get into, but she has a tracking bracelet. And she shows up to volleyball tryouts and is just trying to kind of get her life back on some sort of course after moving out of her mother and stepdad's house and moving in with her grandfather. And she's just like, she's just struggling a lot. And I don't even want to get into all the like nooks and crannies of her story right now, but it is her relationship with her coach. When she shows up to volleyball practice, she realizes that the old coach that she thought she had is no longer there, and she has this new coach who happens to be Ash, and he is a professional volleyball player, I think an Olympic volleyball player even, and she used to idolize him when she was younger. She used to have a big crush on him, and now he is her new volleyball coach. They literally don't care about being coach athlete and having a huge age gap in their relationship. They truly don't care, and people around them don't care either, which is like what made it kind of ludicrous to me reading it, because I'm like, a forbidden romance is supposed to feel like forbidden, and it just didn't, because no one cared. But it's a fun time, and the longer I sit on it, the more that I'm like, you know what, I don't care if it's impractical. I enjoyed it. So 4 stars, and it ends on a cliffhanger, and I didn't realize that. I thought it was a standalone, and it is in fact not. So I will definitely be reading book 2 when it comes out. Next, we have Hush Hush by Lucia Franco. So this is a standalone. This one follows James and Aubrey. So Aubrey, she's really struggling for money in college, and her best friend Natalie is like, hey, I can get you a job where I have a job. And she thinks that her friend is a bottle girl at like a club. She's in fact not. She is an escort, and she, you know, gets Aubrey a job being a high-end escort. And one of her clients, James, she ends up really connecting with, even though it is against all rules to like have any sort of like personal investment in clients. She can't help but have that in James. James is a super wealthy billionaire who he has the money. He just wants to spend it on Aubrey, which is great. I'm not even going to say any more about it because I don't want to spoil anything. It is just something that you just have to experience as you go. Loved this, super fun. I loved the friendship between Aubrey and Natalie. Loved, obviously, Daddy James in here, and yeah. Next up, another novella, Mute by M.L. Nystrom. So this one, our heroine, she has a job at a library, but it's being let go, and she really is in desperate need. She has like no one, no family, no friends to really help her out. Her apartment is in really, really rough shape. She doesn't even have a cell phone. Like, she literally needs help. She needs a job, and one of the people that comes to the library is like, hey, I own the biker bar. She's like the head lady, you know, like her husband is like the not the owner, the boss of the MC. Why can't I think? Whatever. She's like, why don't you come and be a bartender at the bar there, and like I'll give you a job, help you out, whatever. So she ends up taking her up on it, and when she's there, she meets Mute, one of the bikers. He does not speak because he had his vocal cords cut, like his throat was completely slit open, and he ended up surviving, but now he cannot talk, and they end up forming their own way of communicating with each other, and he definitely takes her under his wing. He sees that she needs protection from like the world in general, but also with some of the fellow bikers, and takes her under his wing, and it's their romance. It was great. Loved it. I'm not normally the biggest MC fan, but this one really, really worked for me. Absolutely loved both of the characters, loved their romance, loved the world. It was a fun time. Lola and the Millionaires Part 1 by Catherine Moon. This is an Omegaverse. Our heroine in this one, she, in the previous book, and kind of what you see in like flashbacks, so you don't have to read the other book, but you do see in flashbacks that she's a beta, and she's always wanted to be an Omega, and she did get involved with some alphas that assaulted her, treated her really, really poorly, so now she has a big fear of alphas, and is just like fearful in general. She's just kind of struggling, and she's getting ready to start a new job at a magazine, which it is like her dream job, and she just kind of wants a fresh start. And when she arrives there, she ends up doing really well in her work, and she ends up connecting with her boss, who is an alpha, and just starts to slowly like start to trust men again, start to trust alphas again. And she ends up falling into a pack with her boss, her like boss's boss, one of the models that does a lot of shoots with the magazine, their security guy, like it's a few other people, whatever. Definitely want to read part 2. Do I think it probably needed to be 2 parts? No, but I really enjoyed this. Omegaverses are just fun. They're fun to like switch things up when all I'm reading is contemporary romances, so it's fun to like get something a little different in the mix. First Comes Blood by Lilith Vincent. I gave this one 4 stars as well. This one is a Mafia Y2, so our heroine in this one, it is her 17th birthday, and her father, who is a governor, invites over these 4 huge, powerful mafia men and drops a bomb on her and her mom that he is going to arrange a marriage with one of these 4 mafia men. So each of them have time to like talk with her that night, and she obviously really opposes the idea. Her mom really opposes the idea, and by the end of the night on her 17th birthday, her mom ends up being killed. Now it's like following her to her 18th birthday, so she's getting married a week after her 18th birthday, and she's really looking for a way out. She really has no allies. Like, her dad's a piece of garbage. She does not want to marry the one that she's arranged. She doesn't want to marry any of them, and she does reach out to the other 3 to kind of get their help, and they do end up helping her, just not in the way that she was planning on it. Very dark. Obviously it's like toxic and messy because it's like mafia, and these dudes are like not good dudes, but also they're like fun to read about. Next, Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this one is not a romance, it's like a contemporary fiction novel, and it's told in like interview style. Oh my gosh, why am I there? Like interview style format with Daisy Jones and the Six. So Daisy Jones was a singer-songwriter back, was it like in the late 60s, about her and the relationship that she had with Billy, who was the lead singer of the Six, and like when they came together, it's like their dynamic and just all the band dynamics. I'm explaining it, super messed up. You can literally read the blurb for yourself. I loved this. I gave this 5 stars. I've heard the audiobook is amazing because it is like interview style format, so it sounds like a podcast. I obviously read it physically. I blew through it. This book was incredible. Loved it. Loved Daisy. Loved all the band members. Karen. I'm a stan for Karen for life. Next up, I had this one in a reading vlog, so you can go and check out my full thoughts and emotions there. Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I gave this book 5 stars. Incredible, amazing. This one follows Magnolia and BJ, Jesus Christ. You can tell I'm nearing the end of this video. It's their romance. It's like second chance because Magnolia and BJ have just always loved each other, but BJ did cheat on Magnolia, and now in the present, they're like trying to work through that. They're like off and on, back and forth, always fighting. They will truly never love another person like they love each other, and that, you know, screws a lot of things up for them. It's so good. Like I said, I have a full reading vlog about this. It's my reading hyped booktube romances vlog where you can see my full thoughts about it. And same with this one here, which is A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. So this one follows B and Jamie, and it starts when they are in high school, and Jamie and B like have a friendship, but B kind of has a crush on him, but he's dating her best friend. They never have a chance to be together. Jump ahead a few years to college. They are now attending the same university, and again, maybe they'll get a shot at things. Joke. B's dating someone else who happens to be Jamie's roommate, so again, the timing is not right. Jump a few years later. Once again, the timing is never right for these two over the course of years that this book tells, but they always come back together. Like, they can't shake the other, even if the timing is never right for each other. It's so messy, so just emotionally draining. Again, you can see my video for my full thoughts on this, but I loved it. 5 stars. Next up, Flawless. Again, the other book that I read for that reading vlog, I gave this one 4 stars. So this one is a forced proximity, babysitting kind of small town country romance, which I didn't think I would like. I did end up really liking it. So our hero in this one, he's a professional bull rider, and he has said something to piss off a lot of sponsors. So in order to kind of keep him on the straight and narrow path to not lose any of his sponsors, his agent is like, I'm going to send out someone to babysit you, keep you on track. And that happens to be the agent's daughter. And she is just really trying to prove herself a little bit in her new role that she's in. And she's a bit of a hard ass. And she's like, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to set this dude straight. So she gets out there and it's their romance. Amazing banter. A lot of fun. The first half of this book for me was slow, but the last half was absolutely incredible. Literally loved it. The banter between these two was amazing. And that's what really carried the book for me. Next up, another novella, Moonflower by Illyria Firethorn. So this one, our heroine, she's off at college and it's an MFM, childhood best friends to lovers romance. So she is dating this dude off at college, but he's an absolute snooze fest. He doesn't do anything, and she's just like, she's not breaking up with him because they do live together, and she's just kind of stagnant, and she's really feeling guilty that she's drifted away from her 2 best friends, but she's drifted away from them because her best friends, she like wants to be with them both, but she knows that it's not fair to make them pick. But she doesn't think that they'd ever both want her, but they end up finding out that she does in fact want both of them. And they show up at her university one night at a Halloween party, and they're like, hey, why are we all being miserable, like spending time away from each other? Why don't we just all get together and be a little throuple situation? And that's what they end up doing. And it is hot. It's fun. It's quick. Halloween vibes are immaculate. Loved it. Next up, It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I gave this book 4 stars. Is it necessary? No, but I did enjoy it. So it is the second book to follow up It Ends With Us. So I can't really say anything about this book whatsoever. If you haven't read the other one, I don't want to spoil anything. I really loved Atlas's story in this. Outside of like his story with Lily, I really enjoyed certain aspects of his story individually, which I can't say, which would be spoilers. I loved this. I thought it was great. I liked seeing them get a happy ending. But like I said, do I think it was necessary? No, but it was still a fun time. Next up, Falter by Fiona Cole. This is a novella following the couple from Liar, which is the 5th book in the Voyeur series, and it is a marriage in trouble romance. And so Kent and Olivia, it's like 5 years after Liar, and obviously that's an age gap, uncle's best friend romance. And now where they are at in their marriage right now, Kent is really focused on expanding his business. He's really heavily into his work. And Olivia, she's working, but what she really wants is a baby. And she is having trouble getting pregnant. And she doesn't want to let Kent know about like how much she's struggling with that, because she doesn't want him to see her struggle. And that is in turn causing problems between the two of them. I really did like this. I thought that Liar actually felt a little rushed, so I liked getting more time with Kent and Olivia. I liked seeing them overcome obstacles together, like really real and raw and tough obstacles together, and kind of like get their spark back together. And just, I really enjoyed it. I don't really have much else to say. It was 4 stars from me. Losers, Where Are You? Losers Part 1 by Harley LaRue. So this one follows all of the same folks from The Dare, which is a novella by Harley LaRue. I would recommend reading it beforehand. This is a like polyamorous romance between Jessica and 4 guys: Manson, Jason, Lucas, and Vincent. Jessica was a really popular girl back in high school. Now she's graduated college and she's living back in her hometown with no real direction in her life. And the 4 guys are all still in their hometown. They kind of keep to themselves. They just want to like live their lives without people harassing them, but obviously people still harass them and like see them as losers in their town and see them as weirdos, whatever, like really have kind of like ostracized them. But Jessica, she is really drawn into the 4 of them, and it's kind of like, is she going to go with what like the town wants her to do, or is she going to follow her heart with them? Whatever. I mean, that is a horrible explanation for this book. You can look it up yourself though, because I'm literally fucking over filming this video. Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I gave this book 5 stars. This one follows Kenna and a dude. Ledger. Kenna, she is back in her hometown to try to reconnect with her daughter after getting out of prison. She lost rights to her daughter because when she went to prison, she was pregnant and gave birth in prison and obviously had to finish serving out her sentence. And her daughter was taken in by the grandparents of her boyfriend slash ex-boyfriend. I don't want to like end up spoiling anything, but Kenna's back in town to try to reconnect with her, but the grandparents want her to have nothing to do with Kenna's life. And she ends up at a bar her first night there, and she connects with Ledger, who ends up having a connection to her daughter, and it's their romance and just like the story of Kenna and like what happened in the past past, her past in prison, and her trying to reconnect with her daughter. It was beautiful. I gave it 5 stars. It made me absolutely sob. The ending was a little rushed, but overall, I really, really loved this book. He did Rivalry by Rachel Reed. This is an hockey romance, enemies to lovers vibes. So this one follows 2 hockey players. They've always been rivals in the league. They've always been like pitted against each other, and it is their romance together. They end up finding out that the other is interested in the other, and they start hooking up throughout the course of their career, but no one knows about it. It's kept very secretive. They are both very careful of not letting it be out there that they are together, because they don't know what that would do for like hockey in general, their own hockey careers, the media coverage of it. They're just very fearful of what would happen if it came out, and it is their romance together as they navigate hockey and different like highs and lows of both of their lives. I did really like this one. It is told in 3rd person, so that does make me feel a little more disconnected from characters in romance. In fantasy books, I don't mind 3rd person as much, but for some reason in romances, I really, really prefer for it to be written in 1st person, because I feel like you get the connection, like full inside thoughts of both of the characters. But I did really like this, and how the story was told over such a long length of time. It didn't feel like it dragged in any certain point in the story. Yeah, really liked it. And lastly, thank God we're at the end here, What Was Meant to Be by QB Tyler. This one actually is coming out, what, in a couple days of the time that I'm filming this. So this one is QB Tyler's newest release. So this one is a dad's best friend, godfather, age gap, romance, all that goodness, and second chance. So our heroine in this one, she is engaged to another man, and when that news reaches the hero, who has been in Mexico working as a doctor down there at a clinic, he is like, oh no you don't, and he comes running back home 2 years later after he left her completely brokenhearted, and is like, you're not gonna marry this man, are you? And it's them reconnecting. It's so messy. There's cheating. It's angsty because they have to work through what happened 2 years ago. They have to also work through the fact that he is literally her father's best friend, and the fact that she's engaged to another man. They have so many things to work through. I will better explain this book in my monthly wrap up, but I loved this book. This was 5 stars. Thank you, QB, once again for the arc of this beauty. And yeah, absolutely loved it. So anyways, that is it for this video. If you have made it to the end here, I truly can't thank you enough, because I think I hated this video. You know, sometimes I get going and I'm just like feeling good about it, and I'm like feeling on it and feeling like I'm doing a good job, and then other times I'm just like, you just need to get this video done, so that way it's just like done and off of your mind, and that's kind of how I feel with this one. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. I don't know what is going up next week, but you will see when it is. And anyways, that's it for today, and I will see you when I see ya.